welcome back to Simplifying the State. I'm Adam Watson.
And I'm Nicholas Perrin.
Okay, this episode is going to be similar to the one we did about the Trump-Zelensky meeting, so it's going to be basically like last time, an opinion piece in podcast form. So today's topic we're going to be talking about the recent tariffs that have been imposed by the Trump administration. Okay, so obviously yesterday, April 2nd, Donald Trump put into place a whole bunch of tariffs that he said he was going to. It was a couple of tariffs which were delayed, and then he put in the reciprocal tariffs, which he said he was going to do, and then he also put into effect a 10% universal tariff on every country. This includes countries like the UK, Japan, France, Antarctica. Apparently, I don't know of countries that are in Antarctica because there are none, and I don't know why we're tariffing Antarctica, but I don't know what their top export to the U.S. is that we're tariffing. But yeah, basically we have alienated every trading partner we have in the world, and the economy today, at least, did not seem to be handling the news well. It was the worst day for stocks since 2020. Crude oil is down 0.55%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 3.9%. NASDAQ down 5.9%. S&P 500 down 5.8%. Russell 2000 down 6.5%. The NASDAQ, every major U.S. stock has gone down in the last couple of hours. The Dow Industrialist dropped 1,679 points, which is a lot. It is the single worst day for U.S. stocks since the early days of COVID-19. So, Nicholas, what do you think? Is the golden age of American economics finally here?
Well, I think based on the immediate effects, obviously not. These tariffs are supposed to be more of a long-term asset, especially one of the biggest parts about it is it's supposed to revitalize U.S. industry. However, it is dubious that the GDP and stock market decrease that will befall the United States because of it will be worth the eventual industrial revival that Trump is hoping for.
Right. I mean, I know why he's doing it. His rationale is that he wants to jumpstart American manufacturing, which is a good cause to be doing, obviously. But here's the thing. You can't just use tariffs, right? I mean, tariffs are a tool, but they're not the only tool, and definitely not like this. I mean, you use tariffs primarily to protect an industry already established. So like when Biden put I think it was a 100 or 200 something % tariff on Chinese electric vehicles to help protect the American electric vehicle market. So more targeted tariffs on certain industries that we're trying to foster that are already starting to get started. You can't just put tariffs on everything and then just tell them, well, start up manufacturing. I mean, it will possibly happen eventually if they stay in place for a long time. But I mean, you need not just a carrot. I mean, you need not just a stick. You also then need a carrot to jumpstart American manufacturing. I mean, that was what the CHIPS Act was. It was billions of dollars in tax breaks, in incentives to get chip manufacturing into the United States. It wasn't just tariffs. It wasn't just a stick. You had incentives and reasons for people wanting to come and set up manufacturing in the United States.
And I think also that the idea of Trump trying to get genuine effects on manufacturing and his supposed term limit being 3.5 more years in office will it's pretty delusional if you ask me, since you know, it takes a long time for people to migrate into manufacturing jobs. Factories take time to build and
Right.
convert. And a big reason that manufacturing has gone down in the United States as of late is because, well, not as of late, it's been a long time coming, I think for the past like almost 100 years. It's because people in the United States have been getting a lot richer and have been increasing demand for services and not like manufactured goods, especially domestically. And obviously, manufacturing going offshores isn't really helping that either. But it's more of a like services issue rather than domestic manufacturing issue, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. They talked about this before this whole thing. They talked about how Americans might suffer short-term hardship for long-term gain. So, in total, the average American household is expected to pay $2,100 more per year for goods because of the tariffs. And first, let's just talk about what a tariff is. It is a tax. It is a tax charged when you import things into a country. So, whatever the cost of something is, they then add 10% onto that thing that is imported. And so, corporations uh, it's left to their discretion whether to absorb that cost themselves or then to pass it on to consumers. And so, I mean, I don't know a lot of what happens inside of corporate America and its decision making, but usually it does not involve them losing out on possible profit. So I imagine that we will see an increase on most goods that are tariffed.
And yeah, like companies will absolutely increase their prices due to this. It's really the only logical thing to do. They wouldn't try to get out of the consumer powerhouse, which is the United States. They would want to stay and increase their prices in order to still make a profit and still
Right.
exploit the consumer base in the United States.
Right. And it's not just products that are made outside of the US, it's even products made in the United States. I mean, there are very few things that are fully made in a single country. I mean, even an American made Ford F 150, there are a bunch of things that come from other countries. The tires come from South Korea. Uh, bunch of parts for the transmission come from Canada and Mexico. A bunch of parts for the engine come from all different countries. And so, even if the car itself is being made in the United States, you still have to bring in the things from outside of the United States to then build it, which then increases the cost. Because I was watching this CNBC video about them kind of talking about like the costs of like an F-150, and in order to build the transmission, the parts have to cross the U.S. border either to Canada or Mexico like twice before the thing can actually be fully built. And even if every part was made in the United States, you still have to get the steel or the aluminum, steel and the aluminum from Canada, which is then subject to the aluminum and steel tariff. And I mean, all this will culminate in Goldman Sachs has estimated that the cost of foreign-made cars will increase by between $5,000 and $15,000. Foreign-made cars also include cars made in Canada and cars made in Mexico. There are a lot of U.S. cars that are made, well, cars that are driven in the U.S. made in Canada and Mexico, and that's gonna jack up prices for the consumer.
And I would like this time to also mention the very interesting choice of how Trump and his team chose to calculate the amount of retaliatory tariffs on other countries. If you look at the chart that he took out on April 2nd,
Right.
it'll have a list of tariffs charged to the USA and USA discounted reciprocal tariffs. And you will notice that except for the 10% tariffs charged to the USA, every USA discounted reciprocal tariff is half of that of the tariff charged. And for 71 countries, the math works out so that the trade deficit of the US and an example country divided by the total imported goods, like the total cost of the imported goods to the US from said country, would equal a percentage, which would then be understood to be the tariffs charged to the US, which is not how that works. And to mend that, he divided that number in half and applied it to that amount in tariffs to said country, which would not help much with the trade deficit, which is also what he's going for, because it disincentivizes trade in general. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the chart. It seems basically like he just cut whatever tariffs were applied to us by another country in half, unless it was a 10% tariff charged on us, then he just put a 10% tariff on them. So like South Korea charges 50% charge to the US, so we charge them 25. Brazil charges 10, so we charge 10. Bangladesh charges 74, so we charge them 37. So we basically like cut it in half down to 10%, which is the minimum tariff, it seems.
Yeah. And I think it would also be important to note that the last time like heavy tariffs were placed on other countries, the Great Depression was exacerbated because of it.
Right.
So it's something to
I mean,
watch out for.
yeah, it did not cause the Great Depression. The tariffs went into effect in 1930, but the market crash happened in 29. But the tariffs then exacerbated the issue and made it much more difficult to deal with as a result of the protectionist policies that were put into place. Yeah, the way this was also done, like I said, tariffs are meant to be more of a surgical tool. Instead, this seems more like it was just like a sledgehammer to the basic world trading system. And I mean, I'm not sure how this will benefit us in the long run, because again, tariffs cannot be the only way you try to get back manufacturing, especially when what is he? Trump's got 3.5 something years left in office before he has to, uh, stop being president. And if a Democrat were to win in 2028, then my guess is they would probably immediately take all of this back. So this would require a prolonged period of these tariffs staying in place, and unless a Republican who Trump then convinces to keep all these tariffs in place wins, I mean, these will not stay in effect for longer than 3 years if a Democrat is to win in 2028, or a tariff-hating Republican like Rand Paul, who is a senator from Kentucky who has come out against tariffs, like been a very harsh critic of this. If he were to say run for president and win, he would probably get rid of these tariffs. So it requires a prolonged period of keeping this in place for it to possibly actually work. And I mean, I'm not sure if the short-term pain which he has described, which is today the U.S. stock market lost like $3.9 trillion, and it lost $2 trillion in 20 minutes. I'm not sure if that is then possibly worth these tariffs, which again may not fully accomplish the thing he wants it to.
And I would also like to point out that, like I said before, a big reason that the United States has, is manufacturing is suffering is because the United States is, rich on the world stage. A country like Norway is also rich on the world stage and also has somewhat declining manufacturing, although it's not entirely the case because of oil and gas, which is still pretty strong. like they have about the same trends as the United States, and but they're not going around tariffing everyone
Right.
to like try to protect their manufacturing.
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of manufacturing, companies are going to go where it is cheapest to do it, right? I mean, and that is right now not the United States. Uh, Maybe this will incentivize them to come back, but I mean, again, this is mostly a stick, and you would probably also need then a carrot to get them to come back to the negotiating table and then to put their manufacturing back into the United States.
And it'll definitely hurt the U.S. consumer in the short term.
No, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure it will cause long-term inflation. I mean, I think I saw something which was that before the tariffs were announced, inflation was expected to drop down to 2.5, 2.1% by the end of the year. Now, uh, assuming every tariff goes to like the extreme, it could go up as much as 2%. So that is certainly not good. And then you also have then the uh, increased cost of everything right now. So yeah, probably not good on the horizon. And I mean, it's not just goods that are impacted by this; it's then also services because, like, take a hospital. A hospital has to import medical equipment from outside of the United States if it is not manufactured in the United States, which could ramp up hospital bills even more than they already are, or it could ramp up the cost of food service. If you have to, like, if you go to a restaurant, maybe it costs more to import the food to the United States if it was not grown in the United States.
And
So I
that'll
mean,
then
yeah,
and that'll then cause insurance companies to start getting into like warmer water, and so they might start like cutting off more people and start
right.
claiming
And that's
less.
the other thing. Insurance companies. It is now going to be more expensive. Your home insurance is going to be more expensive now because of the tariffs on things like wood, on metal, on stuff like that. That the things that it takes to rebuild a house after a storm. Uh, And so home insurance is going to go up. Auto insurance is going to go up. Most insurance is going to go up as a result of this. So it's just going to be the cost of individual products is going to go up. The cost of services is probably going to go up. And then the cost of insurance, which is also a service, is going to go up. And all of that is for a goal which may not even be achieved by the thing that is being done. And so this whole thing just seems, quite frankly, very stupid.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Simplifying the State. We will be back next week. All right. See you next time.